The entire first-class cabin fell silent the moment the flight attendant slammed her hand against the CEO's seatress and barked, "Sir, I'm giving you one more warning. Gather your belongings. You and your family are getting off this flight. Now." Her voice sliced through the air like a blade. Every pair of eyes turned toward the tall black man seated beside his wife and 2 kids, stunned and confused. He didn't resist. He only asked calmly, "And may I ask why, ma'am?" Her answer was curt and dismissive. "You've asked too many questions. I don't care who you are. You're a disturbance, and I'm not tolerating it. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notification bell to get notified for more. Share to friends. Where are you watching from? Please tell us in the comments. We love seeing how far a story goes." The man stood up slowly, holding his little daughter's hand, while his wife gathered their carry-ons. A few passengers looked away in guilt. Others whispered, but no one dared speak up. Security arrived minutes later and, without asking for context, escorted them down the aisle. The father never raised his voice, but his eyes, they spoke volumes. They held the calm of a storm, just waiting for the right moment. 3 hours earlier, at Terminal B of the Boston Logan International Airport, Thomas Carter, a soft-spoken tech billionaire, had arrived with his family for a surprise economy-to-luxury test flight on one of his newer aircrafts. Dressed in a simple navy hoodie, khaki pants, and sneakers, he did look like a man who owned over 30 jets and employed nearly 12,000 staff globally. That was the plan, to test the airline's human side, their customer service integrity, their treatment of those who looked ordinary. His wife, Janelle, gave him a sideways glance while they checked in, whispering, "You sure you want to go through with this? We could have just used the private hangar." Thomas smiled. "I want to see it through the eyes of our customers. No one knows us here." But from the moment they stepped into the boarding line, subtle friction began. The same flight attendant who would later embarrass them, Jessica, first barked at Thomas when he accidentally stepped an inch beyond the marked boarding zone. "Can't you read the sign, sir?" she snapped, eyeing his sneakers with disapproval. Instead of reacting, Thomas simply stepped back. His kids noticed the tone, though. "Daddy, why was she rude?" his son asked. "She might be having a hard day," Thomas replied. "We'll give her grace." Unfortunately, grace wasn't part of Jessica's plan. Once on board, Thomas politely asked for a wipe to clean his daughter's tray. Jessica rolled her eyes and said, "Sir, we clean these before every flight. If you're not comfortable, maybe you should have brought your own plane." Irony had never felt so bitter. Then came the juice request. His son had a mild allergy to artificial sugar, and when Thomas asked if the orange juice was freshly squeezed, Jessica responded with an irritated shrug. "Do I look like the chef?" Other passengers noticed the tone. A woman across the aisle even offered Thomas and Janelle her extra napkins and gave Jessica a disapproving glance. But Jessica, clearly intoxicated by her own authority, didn't care. Her tone worsened each time Thomas spoke, until finally he asked if she could pass him the safety card again to explain something to his kids. That's when she exploded. "You've been interrupting me since boarding. If you want to manage the flight, maybe you should buy the airline." He looked her in the eye and said softly, "I already did." She laughed mockingly. "Of course you did." That was when she called security, and they were marched off. But twists love silence. That's where they grow. Back at the airport terminal, Thomas Carter made one private call to the operations executive station in Los Angeles. "Did flight JX202 just leave the tarmac?" "Yes, sir. But there's a note about a disturbance involving a passenger and a staff member." Thomas replied, "Good. Ground that plane. Now." "Excuse me?" "You heard me. I want it grounded. Evacuate passengers safely. Conduct an immediate staff audit. And tell the media team, the story starts now." 20 minutes later, the pilot's voice crackled through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've just been instructed to return to the gate due to an operational check. Please remain calm. We'll update you shortly." Passengers groaned. Jessica stood frozen. Then her walkie-talkie buzzed. "Jessica Peters, report to the gate manager's office. Now." Confused, sweating, and irritated, she stormed off the flight. As passengers deplaned, murmurs turned into open discussions. Wasn't that the family she kicked off? He did say he owned the airline, didn't he? Wait, could it be true? 30 minutes later, a news alert flashed. Airjet CEO kicked off own flight by flight attendant. Grounds plane for immediate investigation. In a conference room nearby, Jessica faced 4 board members, including the Vice President of Human Resources. Thomas Carter entered silently. She stood up, flustered, realizing who he really was. Sir, I didn't know. You shouldn't have to, he interrupted. Our job is to treat everyone with dignity, regardless of what they wear, who they look like, or how many questions they ask. You failed. She stammered. It was a misunderstanding. I thought he was being difficult. Difficult? For asking about juice? For wiping a tray table? For showing his children how to read a safety card? Silence. Thomas continued. You see, we test our systems for this reason, not just engines. People, if this is how you treat a man in front of his children, I can't imagine how you treat those who don't speak up. Jessica tried again. I was just trying to maintain order. At the cost of respect, he replied. Jessica, your employment is terminated, effective immediately. We wish you growth and reflection. She didn't argue this time. Back at the lounge, Thomas rejoined his wife and kids. Are we flying home? His daughter asked. He bent down, hugged her, and smiled. We will. But today we learned something bigger than flying. Moral lesson. Never judge anyone by appearance. Power isn't always loud. The real test of character is how you treat those you believe can't do anything for you, because you never know who's watching or who owns the plane you're flying in.